Forget what the national media says. I'm here to tell you that Kyle Stowers is a legit all-star.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been a diehard Marlins fan since I was 12 years old. I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons, and you can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger too. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every single day. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already on the YouTube channel. And of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And on today's show, I'm going to tell you exactly why Kyle Stowers is a legit all-star. No matter what the national media says, if they say that other players got snubbed, argue that the one player from each team structure should be done away with. None of that matters because Kyle Stowers belongs in Atlanta. I'm also going to take a look at the last Marlins All-Stars from the past 10 seasons. Where are they now? Going to answer that and also give you my thoughts on the Home Run Derby because I do have some concerns of how it was structured last night. Let's start with Kyle Stowers. So on the season, Kyle Stowers is hitting .293, on-base percentage of .368, OPS of .911, 19 homers, 54 RBIs. He's been awesome. He's been well-deserving now to be named the Marlins All-Star representative. And how it works, how the All-Star game works, is every team gets at least one player named to the All-Star game. You can't have a team without a representative. So that, in essence, is going to create some discourse among fans, among media, where player A put up better numbers than player B, but player B is an all-star and player A isn't because player B plays for this team. He has to get in. And so I think a lot of people are looking at this all-star game roster and the immediate reaction is, well, Kyle Stowers is an all-star, but where's Juan Soto? Juan Soto should have been an all-star. And I'm here to just kind of put that aside for a second. Explain why Kyle Stowers is deserving and Juan Soto shouldn't have made it over him. Juan Soto's a great hitter. There's no doubt about it. And yes, he was all-star worthy. But so is Kyle Stowers. You compare the numbers. Okay. Juan Soto, 23 home runs. Kyle Stowers, 19. Juan Soto's hitting .262. Kyle Stowers hitting .293. Kyle Stowers has a slug of .543. That's higher than Juan Soto, who's slugging .509. Kyle Stowers has a higher on-base plus slugging of .911. Juan Soto at .905. Marginally different, yes. But still, this should matter. It doesn't matter that Juan Soto signed a $765 million contract. It's about production. Kyle Stowers didn't just make the All-Star game because he's a Marlin. He had to make it. The Marlins had to send somebody. And it happened to be Stowers. He's not there because Major League Baseball feels bad for the Marlins. Oh, here you go. Just here's a gratuity. Here's a gift. There you go. There's your all-star representative. No, he earned it. Plain and simple. Stowers earned it. The numbers are legit. The turnaround for Kyle Stowers from a season ago has been remarkable. It deserves recognition. And I don't think enough people are giving Stowers the recognition that he's earned. Yes, he made his mark in the last game before the All-Star break. 5 for 5. 3 homers. As the Marlins take 2 out of 3 from Baltimore and head into the All-Star break with momentum. But in years past, there's been some Marlins All-Stars that are just kind of there, you know? They're just there. Stowers did this breakout. You put him on any other team with these numbers, you're going to have a lot more people talking about him. This is the reason why I think Stowers, this breakout, is so legit. Tangible numbers. Numbers we can look at. Numbers don't lie now. And I'm going to give you some numbers why Stowers has had this success and has played himself into being an all-star. Let's start with his performance against certain pitches. So most MLB hitters are pretty good against the fastball. They can handle a major league fastball. That's why you got closers, you got starters throwing elite secondary pitches. They have a slider, they have a sweeper. Maybe they got a really good changeup. It keeps them off the fastball. It's common sense. Everybody that cares and watches baseball knows this. But a season ago, Kyle Stowers was helpless against the fastball. Against 479 fastballs in 2024. He hit 187, slugged 280, 1 home run, 43 strikeouts. He had 20 hits and 43 strikeouts against fastballs a year ago. This season, hitting 307, slugging 566, 12 home runs, 51 hits, 51 strikeouts. A huge difference. And that's almost double the amount of pitches. Up to this point, he's seen 757 fastballs. It started with that. If Stowers wanted to have success in the majors, he needed to adjust to velocity and hitting the fastballs in the zone. And he did. And he excels at it now. Same thing with the breaking balls. A season ago, he hit 214, slugged 381, 1 home run, 17 strikeouts, 9 hits. This year, against breaking balls, so your sliders, your curveballs, etc. Hitting 280, slugging 547, 4 bombs, 21 hits, 21 strikeouts. He's improved in every sense of the word when it comes to facing elite stuff. The numbers back it up. Stowers, his production, it's right there as I laid out with Juan Soto. I'm looking at the rosters here for the MLB All-Star game. The starters in the outfield for the National League. You have Kyle Tucker. You have Pete Crow Armstrong and Ronald Acuna Jr. Then the reserves for the outfield. You have James Wood, Fernando Tatis, Corbin Carroll, and Kyle Stowers. Should Soto be on that list? Maybe. Not in place of Stowers. Stowers earned it. Does he have the name value? No. Most Marlin players on this team don't have the name value. Because outside of this circle, outside of the people that care about Marlins baseball, it's all about the big market teams. The MLB cares about the Dodgers. They care about, the Yankees. The small market teams, especially the ones that aren't winning, don't have the love like the big market teams do. And that it is what it is. That's just how it goes. But the breakout is real. The numbers back it up. And I'm super, super happy. And I think it's awesome for the future of this franchise. Kyle Stowers should be a building block for years to come. Even at 27 years old, he is a building block. Coming up next, who have been the Marlins All-Stars over the last 10 seasons, and where are they now? What are they up to? I'm going to talk about that right after this. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Sometimes for me, I'll look at my bank account, I'll look at my spending, and I'm like, wow, where did my money go? Because I didn't expect all these expenses to add up. You know, you go to a ball game, you get a couple drinks, you get a hot dog, maybe you buy a hat. It adds up. But Monarch Money comes in, it's going to help you manage all of your finances. It's going to help you budget smarter. So inevitably, you're going to save more money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. I appreciate all the everyday listeners being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. And I'm talking about the Marlins All-Stars over the last decade. So I got the list pulled up, and we're going to go year by year and just look at who were the representatives for the Marlins. You know, in 2025, it's Kyle Stowers. Who was the representative back in 2015? And we're going to go all the way up to 2024, a season ago. 2015, Giancarlo Stanton and D. Gordon. Of course, Giancarlo Stanton, that was prime Stanton. He was in the prime years of being a Miami Marlin. He was awesome. And now he's on the Yankees. The Marlins traded him after the 2017 season in a salary dump. They signed him to that extensive, record-setting, 13 years, $300+ million contract. And then they traded him. You know, Bruce Sherman buys the team. Stanton gets traded. D. Gordon. What I think is funny about D. Gordon, that was his first year as a Marlin, and he immediately won the batting title. Very deserving All-Star, nominee. And he had a really fun 3 years in Miami. Now, the second year was marred a little bit by a PED suspension, but both 2015 and 2017, he hit over 300. 2015, he won the National League batting title, and was an All-Star in the process. He's currently out of baseball. The last time he played was in 2022. He was traded from the Marlins to the Mariners and just really never regained the skill set that he showed so often as a Marlin. Just the elite contact, elite speed, stealing bases. It just kind of tailed off in the back end of his career. But he did have a cameo in 2022 with the Nationals, and I think that was funny because across 23 games, he hit 305. And 305, of course, is the area code for Miami. They got the 305 hats, really cool hats, the retro waves. But that was the last time he was in organized baseball. 2016, you had four All-Stars. But the caveat to this, it's really kind of three. And I'm going to tell you why. You have Marcell Ozuna, Jose Fernandez, may he rest in peace, AJ Ramos, and Fernando Rodney. Now, Fernando Rodney started the season as a San Diego Padre. He was not, the bulk of his season was not with the Marlins. He got traded to Miami because Miami were buyers at that deadline and technically was a Marlins All-Star. But he struggled during his time with the Marlins. But this All-Star representative, this All-Star, nomination for Rodney was because of his time with the Padres. Ozuna was awesome. He was again, much like Stanton in the prime of his Marlins career. Jose Fernandez, this was the last season Jose would ever pitch, because later that season, of course, he passed away tragically in a boating accident. AJ Ramos. AJ Ramos was an all-star. He was the Marlins closer that season. Loved watching AJ pitch. And now he is a radio broadcaster for the Marlins radio network. He does the color analysis over there with Jack McMullen. It's really great to listen to him call the games and give his insight from playing Major League Baseball, now commentating on it. 2017, Ozuna and Stanton. Of course, that was Stanton's last year. And if I'm not mistaken, that was Ozuna's last year as well, because he got dealt to the Cardinals, which brought us Sandy Alcantara. But that was really the last hurrah for that Marlins core, that Marlins outfield that was so good for so long. And I'm very surprised, looking back at it now, that Christian Yelich never made an All-Star game during his time as a Marlin. He never did. He went on to win an MVP, though, with the Milwaukee Brewers. And we all know how that trade ended up for the Marlins. It was horrendous. 2018 was JT Realmuto. That, again, was his last season as a Miami Marlin. He went on to be traded to the Phillies in the Sixto Sanchez trade, and he's been a mainstay as their catcher ever since. He's been to a World Series, and although his production, offensively at least, has taken a step back this season in 2025, he's still a veteran. He's still a very good player, and the Phillies most definitely won that trade. Now we're in 2019, and this is kind of the middle of the second rebuild. So you have, or the first rebuild of the Bruce Sherman era, and you're starting to see the fruits of their labors. Sandy Alcantara made his first All-Star game in 2019. He was the lone representative for the Marlins. 2020, of course, there was no All-Star game. 2021, Trevor Rogers was the Marlins All-Star, the lone representative. Trevor Rogers went on to be traded last year to bring back Kyle Stowers from the Baltimore Orioles to the Marlins. Trevor Rogers goes to Baltimore. Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers come back to Miami. And we just saw Trevor Rogers pitch against us. He pitched very well. I believe 6 1/3, gave up 1 run. He was really good against his former team, and I'm hoping for his success moving forward. 2022, the Marlins weren't very good this season, but they had 3 All-Stars, and they started the season off fairly decent, and I think that plays into it as well. Sandy, Jazz Chisholm Jr., and Garrett Cooper. Garrett Cooper is the most surprising one out of this list. He has an All-Star to his name, but a couple months ago, he was playing for the Gwinnett Stripers, and the Stripers released him. He is currently a free agent. He's not on any team. In 2023, a season after he made the All-Star game for the Marlins, he was traded to the Padres for Ryan Weathers. So I think the Marlins won that deal, given that Ryan Weathers has showed glimpses of front of the rotation potential. He just has to stay healthy. A little bit of a fall from grace for Garrett Cooper. Old Koopaloop. Loved watching him. He came up with some clutch hits during his time in a Marlins uniform. 2023, that magical season. It was the postseason year for the Fish. Miami had Luis Arias and Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler stayed healthy. He was a masher all season long, and him and Arias were the 1-2 combo that really led the Marlins to the postseason. Luis Arias, of course, hit over 350 over that season. He was an electric spark plug, one of the best contact hitters I had ever seen, and he's still playing, this time with San Diego, and he was traded last season to the Padres. It brought us back a number of prospects, including Dylan Head, Jacob Marcy, Nathan Martorella, and there, I believe, was one more, if I'm not mistaken. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But Arias was a fan favorite. I really loved Luis Arias, and it was a very short stint for him as a Miami Marlin. Just 1.5 years. Not even that, because he was traded last May. Last year, the All-Star representative was Tanner Scott. We all know how that went down. Tanner Scott was entering his last season of team control. It was very clear the Marlins were tearing it down, and the talk of the town for the last couple of months was, where will the Marlins trade Tanner Scott to, and what will they get in return for Scott? Because, of course, they weren't going to sign him to a long-term extension. It didn't make any sense given the money he was going to, command at the end of the year. The Marlins flipped him to the Padres last minute at the deadline in exchange for Robbie Snelling, Adam Major, Jay Bashirs, and Graham Pauley. Robbie Snelling is my favorite prospect out of the group. Tanner Scott pitched well for San Diego the rest of the way, but in the offseason, he signed a 4-year, $72 million deal with the Dodgers. It was at least over 70. It was a ton of money and well-deserved for one of the game's better closers. I definitely think Tanner Scott is a top-end closer, and the Dodgers pay up that money. That's how they do it. That's how they operate. Padres rented him for half a year. Padres don't make the World Series. They don't even make the playoffs. And the Dodgers were World Series champions, and now they get Tanner Scott as well. And this year, of course, you have Kyle Stowers as your All-Star. I did the breakdown on him in the first segment. Well deserved. So that's your rundown for the last decade of Marlins All-Stars. I think that's pretty fun, and it just shows how much this organization has changed over the last 10 years. You've had a uniform overhaul from the orange, the big M logo with the fish. Now it's black, teal, or Hawaiian blue, whatever they call it, and the Caliente red. It looks a lot different. The ballpark looks a lot different, but hopefully the Marlins can get back to winning ways. The Home Run Derby took place last night, and I have some concerns with how it was structured. I'm going to tell you why those concerns need to be addressed, and just how the Major League Baseball as a whole needs to do better with an event such as the Home Run Derby. That's coming up right after this. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. They got an easy-to-use website. It's packed with all the helpful resources you need, and they got all the resources. Believe me, over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands. You're always going to find exactly what you need, and they deliver fast. There's no long waits. From coast to coast, it's going to get there in a timely manner. And if you need help with an order, they do offer expert support and industry-leading service. You'll always talk to a real person. There's no AI, there's no robot involved. And if you or a family member or a friend are looking for an extra edge, you're a trade professional, you're looking for that, that boost to put you over the top, I encourage you to check out the free Trade Master program. They have exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Locked On Marlins is on the YouTube channel. It's also on all the major podcast platforms out there, so you can listen to Locked On Marlins on the go. But if you're watching the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button for me. It helps me out a lot here on the channel. Last night, the Home Run Derby took place. It was, a fun event. A lot of fun participants took place. You had Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, win it. He was one of the favorites. He's leading the major leagues with 38 home runs, which is insane for a catcher and a switch hitter. I think he's going to shatter the record set by the great Mickey Mantle for single season home runs by a switch hitter. And Cal Raleigh wins it. But there's a couple issues I had with the formatting. And number one was just the technical structure of the Derby. So if I'm watching on the TV screen, half of the screen is the batter taking their swings. You know, you're watching from behind the pitcher, and he throws the pitch, the batter swings. And then the other half, you're just watching the ball fly. So you're trying to watch both at the same time. It wasn't working. There were times where one of the hitters would hit a home run and you see the ball flying, but as you're watching the ball, he's taking another swing, and now there's technically two balls that you have to track on your screen. It was just confusing. It wasn't streamlined enough. I didn't really like it. The second issue, and this is just, my opinion on this. Brent Rooker and Cal Raleigh tied with 17 home runs. I wasn't aware of the rules of how you're going to break a tie. I thought maybe they were going to do a swing off. At the end of the round, okay, it's now Rooker versus Raleigh 1v1 to see who advances to the next round. No, that didn't happen. The MLB said that Cal Raleigh was going to move on because he hit the longest home run. And I said, oh, okay, I guess we're doing it just by, whoever hit the longest. The issue with that is that the longest home run that Cal Raleigh hit was 470 feet. The longest home run that Brent Rooker had was 470 feet. But apparently the MLB just said Cal Raleigh advances because he hit his 470.61 feet. Brent Rooker hit his 470.53 feet. I think the MLB just made those numbers up. I think there was an intern back there, and Rob Manfred called somebody, and they said, we want Cal Raleigh to advance. He's a more popular player. It's the big dumper. He's got his dad pitching to him, his little brother behind the plate. The popularity for Cal Raleigh this season far exceeds the popularity of Brent Rooker. Cal Raleigh is a favorite to win it. Make up these numbers and let's send Raleigh to the finals or the semifinals. Because how on earth can any measuring system get that specific? 470.61 feet to 470.5. What is that? An inch? Within an inch, you can tell where the ball landed? Yeah, I seriously doubt that. I just do. I think that was an on-the-fly decision, and it's not a good look. You should have had a swing off in that situation. It makes it more exciting. It makes it fair because Brent Rooker, even after the fact, was like, nobody knew these rules. It would have been nice to have been informed about them before the Derby took place. The other, I guess storyline of the night, Cal Raleigh ends up winning it, and I think it's great. It boosts his story, his popularity. He's having a great season. I hope he continues. Jazz Chisholm Jr. was a participant. I wanted Jazz. I'm always going to root for Jazz. He hit 3 homers in the first round. And after the fact, he says that he wasn't trying to change up his swing. He was just trying to hit his line drive swing, use his line drive swing, and hit home runs. It didn't work out. There were other representatives that not even possibly, I'm sure could have done better than 3 homers. Because that just wasn't, that wasn't Jazz. That's not his event. If he's not trying to, hit home runs in the home run derby, it's probably not his event. And I know there's an element to not messing up your swing. I've heard that before, where a player goes up there, he's trying to sell out for homers, and in the second half of the season, the entire mechanics of his swing are just kind of off because he was selling out to hit bombs in an exhibition event. But that was a disappointing aspect of the Derby. They keep changing the format, how it's ruled. I believe yesterday you had 40 pitches or so with a clock, and you could hit as many outs as possible as long as it was a timed event. It was a timed round. So you have a max amount of pitches that you can see, but you also can hit as many as you want into the dirt, into the outfield grass. Like, it was just how many can you hit in that amount of time. And it feels like every single year the event keeps changing. And to me, I want to see the best home run hitters on the planet. That's what would make and what did make the Derby so exciting to watch, is watching Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge just tee off in Lone Depot Park back in 2017. I want to see Shohei Ohtani versus Aaron Judge. I'm sorry, with all due respect to the participants of this Derby, it was missing that factor, that star factor. Besides Cal Raleigh, I would say, credit to Junior Caminero. He's a young up-and-comer. I think that's good, but realistically, that's not Jazz Chisholm's event. It's just not. And I think it's interesting that a lot of these players decline their invitations. It would have been cool to see Acuna compete in the Derby as well, because the crowd factor made it really fun. When Matt Olson, and he got eliminated in the first round, but when Olson was hitting, the crowd was going nuts with every home run. I could feel the energy just watching it on the TV. I thought it was really cool, having the hometown guy, being that the event is held in Atlanta, take place. Not an Acuna fan, but, he would have made the event pretty exciting. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. I appreciate you guys for listening. And until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.